his shadows and spirits. I'd like to recognize those who dwelt on this land long before there was Texas, long before there was Denton, and those who lived and worked here when this area was Quakertown, and all of the storytellers, listeners, teachers, community leaders, volunteers who have helped us get to 41 years. We welcome their spirits, and we know that they're with us in the shadows. And welcome to you, whether you're here for the very first time to experience this festival or storytelling, or whether you've been here many times. We're so glad that you're here for this very special concert. The festival itself features the wealth of tellers and talent that we have in Texas and the Southwest. There are 14 different storytelling guilds that are all contributors to the Texas Storytelling Association. And tonight we have not only all of those regional tellers and youth tellers over through the weekend, but we also have international and nationally recognized tellers as well. And the fact that we bring together so many wonderful tellers is one of my very favorite things about the Texas Storytelling Festival. Now, none of this would be possible without the generous support of our many, many sponsors. They're listed on page 17, and there's actually an addendum for all of the sponsors. But we have sponsors such as the City of Denton, the Texas Commission on the Arts, the National Endowment for the Arts, the Texas Folklore Society, and the dedicated volunteers who bring all of this together. So before we start, I ask you to silence your phone. Ask that you not use flash photography. It's very disorienting. And to remind you that we are videotaping. So if you do not want to be on video, we ask that you choose a seat off to one of the sides where you won't be captured on the film. That was a lot of housekeeping. So our first teller embodies the spirit of Denton and the Tejas Storytelling Festival. Dalton Gregory is a Denton native. He's a retired educator, and he has brought traditional and personal stories to schools, churches, campfires, and even the neighborhood barbershop. We welcome Dalton Gregory.
Got to look professional. Richard Chase first recorded Wicked John and the Devil when he was doing his folklore studies in the Appalachian Mountains. It was published in the 1940s. I've heard it told by North Carolina tellers Jackie Torrance and Donna Washington. Both of them are told here. Their versions are a little different. And I'm a little confused about that, because the way I heard it, Wicked John was not a blacksmith from North Carolina. He was a blacksmith from Denton County. Oh yeah, about 8 miles from here, up in the Green Valley community. You need a little geography. Behind us is Pecan Creek. And Pecan Creek flows into the Elm Fork of the Trinity River, which flows into the Trinity River, which flows into Galveston Bay and, well, what do we call it? The Gulf. Green Valley, just a little bit out of town, sits on a hill that looks down upon the Elm Fork of the Trinity, that valley down there. And that's where Wicked John had his blacksmith shop. Up there today, you can see the Green Valley Community School. It's still there. That building is still there. And just a little bit south of there, there's some big old trees. And under one of those trees was Wicked John's blacksmith shop. And right next to it was his house. And they called him Wicked because he was a cantankerous old man. He was mean. He was fussy. He was just complaining. He seemed just like an angry guy all the time. He didn't like it. If he could have made blacksmithing stuff and not had to deal with people, that would have been just fine with Wicked John. But they were the ones that paid the bills, so he had to put up with it. He was wicked in every way possible. And he didn't like it when people hung around his shop, but people did. And the kids leaving school liked to stop by his shop because when he got that iron hot and he started hammering on it and the sparks started flying, it was just looked like 4th of July in there. It was like a fireworks show every day. The kids loved it. And Wicked John hated it that they loved it. Yet, there was one area in which Wicked John wasn't all that wicked. You know, wicked folks don't like to show much compassion or much empathy. But for some odd reason, Wicked John was very empathetic to strangers, especially strangers that were without homes or with short of food. And when he would see a stranger, he was happy to welcome them in and give them a meal. And that's what happened one evening. He was just finishing up with his work in the blacksmith shop. He'd gone next door, and this old man, bent over, barely able to walk, in tattered clothes, was walking by, and he looked at Wicked John and said, could I bother you for just a drink of water? And Wicked John said, I'd be glad to help you out. In fact, would you like a meal? And he did. And Wicked John gave him some of his stew and a big slice of cornbread just freshly out of the oven, scooped out of that cast iron skillet and covered with butter. And the stranger ate it up and loved it. And Wicked John was happy to have helped it. Wicked John had turned his back on the man and had started fixing desserts. Another slice of cornbread, more butter, and warmed molasses. That cornbread was just swimming in a pool of molasses and butter. I'm hungry. And when Wicked John turned around, he was shocked because this old man that had been bent over in tattered clothes was sitting up straight and had nice robes on that were glowing. You see, it wasn't a stranger. It was St. Peter. And St. Peter had seen that Wicked John was getting old in age, and he had heard about him being so wicked, and he wanted to check it out to see which place Wicked John ought to go. And St. Peter was a little surprised because Wicked John didn't seem all that wicked. You know, he was really being kind. And he said, well, Wicked John, I know you're living there. He said, anytime someone is kind to me when I'm down here on earth, I grant them 3 wishes. What would you like your 3 wishes to be? It didn't take Wicked John any time at all to think about what he wanted to do. He said, you know, my favorite hammer that I use in my blacksmith shop, sometimes those kids after school get a hold of that and they take it out into the yard and they start busting up rocks. Or there are people around me just moving around. They don't think I need it. And I'm tired of that. And I want you to cast a spell on that hammer so that anytime anybody touches my hammer, that hammer will grab and it won't let it go, and they'll go flying around, rocking, blimey damn, blimey damn, blimey damn, blimey damn. And it keeps on doing that until I say let it go. St. Peter looked at him and said, that's a weird wish. You have 2 left, Wicked John. Don't waste it. He said, oh, I'm just getting started. He said, on my front porch in that chair, in the house right next to me, there's a rocking chair. It's a nice rocking chair, and I love it. And I hate it when one of my customers waiting for me goes over and sits in my rocking chair. It makes me so mad. And I want you to cast a spell on that rocking chair. So anytime anybody but me sits in that chair will grab them. And once it grabs them, it'll go rockety-flop, rockety-flop, rockety-flop. And it'll bang their head up against the back of that chair until I tell it to stop. St. Peter was really understanding Wicked John's nickname now. He said, you have one wish left. Don't ruin it. Wicked John said, oh, in between my house and the blacksmith shop, there's a sticker bush. It's my favorite bush. It's got some flowers on it, and the ladies around the community like to pick those flowers off. That bothers me. But what really bothers me is when somebody gets one of the big stems of that thing and cuts it off and uses it because it's got nice thorns on it, and they use it to train a new horse. He said, I don't like it when they touch my bush, and I want you to cast a spell on it. So anytime anybody touches that sticker bush, it'll grab them and pull them in, and prickety-bit, 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 and it won't let them go until I say to let it go. St. Peter said, you get your 3 wishes, and I'm getting out of here. And I may or may not ever see you later. Well, it was just about a week later, and the devil had gone to his paperwork. Now, you may think, paperwork? Well, you know where he lives. Some of you don't like paperwork as much as I do. He was going through his paperwork, and he saw it was time for a wicked John. And so he was too busy with his paperwork, and he sent his younger son, the little devil, to go get wicked John. The little devil comes up and says, Wicked John, my daddy said it's time for you to come. Wicked John said, oh, I can't right now, little devil. I'm busy. He said, you got to come right now. He said, I need to finish this job. Would it be okay if you just let me finish this job? And the little devil said, okay. Wicked John said, well, in order to do that, I need that hammer over there. Will you hand me that hammer? And little devil grabbed a hold of that hammer, and it grabbed him, and whammity-bam, 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 all around the blacksmith shop. And he was shouting, Wicked John, make it let me go, make it let me go, make it let me go. And he said, will you promise to leave me alone? He said, oh yeah, just make it let me go. He said, let it go. And he did, and little devil took off. Wicked John was feeling pretty smart. Until Big Brother Devil came. The devil said, well, if the little devil can't do it, Big Brother will do it. He came and said, Wicked John, Daddy said, it's time for you, let's go. He said, I still need to finish this job. He said, okay, finish it. Wicked John said, could I have that hammer? He said, oh no, you're not fooling me. I'm not giving you any hammer. He looked around and said, I think I'll just go sit in that rocking chair over there, and I'll wait for him. So he went over, and as soon as he sat down in that rocking chair, he grabbed him, and rockety-flop, 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 rockety-flop. And he said, Wicked John, make it let me go, make it let me go, make it let me go. And Wicked John said, will you leave me alone? He said, yes. His head was hitting the back of the chair, and by the way, it was August. And he said, I don't notice it any different here than where I came from. Wicked John said, chair, let it go. And it did. And he took off. He went and told his daddy. His daddy came up and said, Wicked John, enough's enough. Wicked John said, I really need to finish this job. He said, not only are you not going to finish this job, before I take you where you need to go, I have a good mind to give you a whale. And he said, he started looking around, and Wicked John kind of looked over at that sticker bush and went, And the devil said, oh, that would be a good. And he reached in there to get a big old switch, and that bush grabbed him and pulled him in. Briggity peck, briggity peck, briggity peck, briggity peck. And after a while, he said, Wicked John, make it let me go, make it let me go. And it's August in Texas. Wicked John said, let him go. And he did. And the devil said, see you later, Wicked John. And he took back off to his place. Well, it wasn't but a couple of weeks later that Wicked John died. He went on up to heaven. And St. Peter said, I don't know what you're doing here. He said, well, I fed you. I offered you a jacket even. He said, yeah, but that's not part enough. You know where you need to go. So Wicked John goes to the other place. The little devil is at the gate, and he sees Wicked John coming, and he just runs. He just runs, and he says, I'm killing my dad. His daddy came and said, Wicked John, what are you doing here? He said, I'm dead. I got to be someplace. And the devil said, you know, you fooled my little son, my big son, and me. You're not welcome here. Wicked John said, what do I do? And the devil grabbed a piece of brimstone, burning hot, and he threw it over the gate, and his reflexes were just what they were, and Wicked John caught it. And there it was in his hand, and he couldn't get rid of it. And he couldn't go to heaven, and he couldn't stay in hell. And what he's been doing ever since has been wandering up and down the old fork of the Trinity. And sometimes he wanders right up Pecan Creek, right behind where we are. People see these strange lights late at night. And they think it's just swamp gas. But we know what it is. You see, it's Wicked John. He's weary and he's wandering. And they say there's no rest for the weary, but really, there's just no rest for the wicked.
Thank you, Dalton. I've heard that different cultures have different times of year for telling scary stories. Franz Dahlen is a storyteller here from Oklahoma, told me one time that in Japan, scary stories are saved for the hottest part of the year, because that's when a chill is welcome. Our next teller is T.J. Rankin. He hails from East Texas. Now, he enjoys traditional tales of spirits and what lurks in the shadows, particularly the kaidan, the classic Japanese ghost stories, such as the one he will share with each night. Please welcome T.J. Rankin.
Japan, they say, is full of ghosts. But above all of them, there are the San or Yura, or the three great ghosts of Japan. There is the vengeful Oiwa, there is the lover Atsuyu, and then there is the tragic Okiku. Okiku did nothing wrong, and yet she was punished because she dared to say no to a powerful man. And like all good stories from Japan, this one starts with Mukashi, Mukashi. Long, long ago, during the Edo period of Japan, there was a mighty samurai by the name of Aoyama Taesan. Amongst the emperor's samurai, there was none more feared or revered than him, known just as much for his cruelty as he was for his cunning. Tessan also happened to be the wealthiest man in Japan, the greatest of all the castles in the Bancho district, every single room filled with splendor, servants at his beck and call. Tessan had everything he could ever desire. Everything, that is, except Okiku. Okiku, you see, was one of the servants in his castle who set out the plates and washed the floors. There was she, with beautiful brown eyes scattered with flecks of gold. Her lips were as pink as the cherry blossom, and her hair, long but very well kept, was black as a starless night sky. The court, do you hear me? The court spoke of a lowly servant. All the women were envious of her beauty, and all the men were envious of her master's hold over her. Her master, too, saw this beauty and longed to have it for his and his alone. Time and time again, Tessan would call to Okiku. "Oh, Okiku, put it down, come here. You are one of the greatest of my servants, and one of the finest creatures in all the land. A woman of my stature deserves a woman such as you. Come, take my hand in marriage. I will elevate you in status. I will give you riches untold. I will be a fair and just husband." Oh, yes. And time again, Okiku would reply, "Oh, my lord, you honor me with that offer. But I love you as a servant loves her master, not as a woman loves her husband. I'm so sorry, but I must refuse." This passed for several months. Tessan would ask for Okiku's hand in marriage, and Okiku, of course, would refuse. With each rejection, Tessan's anger grew. How dare she, he would think. Why, even a woman as low as her would understand what a wonderful thing he was doing for her. And after all those wonderful things and riches and love he doted upon her, wasn't he owed this? His heart burned with hate. "If that woman won't have me," he said, "then none shall have her." One day, Tessan called to Okiku again and told her that there would be some very important people that would be having supper that night, and that she was to set out the finest of his plates. These plates, a gift from a Dutch trader, were made of jade, 10 of the total, hung with reverence there on the wall. Okiku went about her tasks, taking down the plates, washing the floors, getting everything ready and beautiful. When Tessan called to her again, "Okiku, Okiku, count the plates you've set out for my guest." Strange request, but Okiku did as her master commanded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's so strange. Hadn't she set it all 10 place settings? So why was it she only counted 9 plates? Again she counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A cold shiver ran down Okiku's spine. Where once there was a 10th plate setting, there was nothing. "Okiku, where is my 10th plate?" said Tessan. Okiku turned to count again, but then hands seized her and turned her around. Tessan's face, red as an oni, looked down upon her. "Wretched girl," he said, "you have stolen away one of my prized plates. I will hide you into the dungeon until you reveal to me just where you have taken it." And at that, Tessan turned away, the 10th plate hidden in the folds of his kimono. Okiku was taken to the darkest part of the dungeon, starved, beaten, tortured, all for a crime she didn't commit. Days passed like decades for the girl, and she faced tortures that no human should ever face. Finally, Tessan dragged her out, tied her right above the courtyard well, and dunked her again and again and again and again. One last time he pulled her up, and he grabbed her by the chin and looked at her. "All your misery can end, Okiku. All you must do is say yes." But Okiku said nothing. And with rage, Tesson drew his sword and cut the rope, and with hands tied behind her, Okiku drowned. Tesson's men pulled up Okiku and buried her in some distant place. She was not given a name, no incense was lit, nobody mourned Okiku. But do not for one second think that she was forgotten. You see, rumors began to spread throughout the prefecture. There was one man who worked in the rice fields, whose brother-in-law, he thinks, worked with the cook, and the cook said that at night you could hear the sounds of weeping in the house. A guard swore by the heavens that he saw a form emerge from the well. Whispers warned, tales grew, fear spread. But when Tesson heard those tales, he laughed. A ghost? Oh, what a ridiculous notion. Here, you cowards, he said, I'll show you the strength of a real man. I'll stay up this night in my castle, right there in the dining room, and prove to you that no ghost walks these halls. Why, if there be a ghost in my house, may I fall down dead. And so, with sword in hand, that hurts to be cautious, Tesson stayed up to prove that there was no ghost, not here, not in his castle. Hours passed slowly in the night. Tesson sipped his tea as he looked out the window at the mist that curled around the well in the courtyard. Hours passed so slow. As the hour of the ox came and a gong sounded from a nearby monastery, something caught Tesson's eye. You see, a form emerged out from the well. It had long hair unkempt over its face and was white and translucent like a paper lantern. As it floated through the bushes and trees, no foot seemed to touch the ground. And as it approached the door, it seemed to pass through. And all went quiet, and the room went cold. Without a hand touching the door, the form emerged there in there with him. It was a girl, fair and beautiful and sad. Tears were running down her cheeks. She flitted and flew here and there, searching for something. And then when she finally came there to the jade plates hanging on the walls, a small whimper came from her mouth. And then she began to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. She let out an unholy yell. The room shook and grew colder. Tesson's breath came out and gasped fog. And she began to count again more desperately still. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Rattled as she screamed again. Ice crystals bloomed like flowers on the plants, and the plants, they died there. There was a sound like cracking, like the very stones of the foundation shaking as she said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Tesson screamed, and his hands he held the 10th plate. 10! The rattling stopped. Wailing ceased. Warm summer air came back to the window. The ghostly figure turned, and the hair had parted. And any doubt that Tesson may have had disappeared then. Indeed, it was the ghost of Okiku. The next morning, Tesson's men found him lying there dead. Near his hands were the shattered remains of one of his precious plates. After that, the castle fell into despair. Servants and soldiers alike were they wised up and they left, and no amount of coin could convince anyone to replace them. Soon, the occupants of the castle dwindled to none, and when nature reclaimed the land, there was no beast that would stay in that castle, not even on the most bitterly cold of nights. The more adventurous, or let's be honest, foolish, will sometimes still go to that castle, They say as the hour of the ox comes, you can see the lone form of Okiku emerging from the well. And if you lean close and listen very, very closely, you may just hear in a far-off room in the castle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Banshu, Sariyashiki, Okiku, and the 9 plates. Thank you.
TJ Rankin. And we have 2 of the very best sign language interpreters ever that are featured at our Texas Storytelling Festival. So we go. To make the stories even more alive even for those of us who can hear them. Thank you. Lyn Ford is an internationally recognized storyteller, author, teaching artist. She's known for tickling your funny bone, touching your heart, or making it chill run up your spine. Full of spirit and never in the shadows. Please welcome Lyn Ford.
Thank you. Good evening. You know that appetite you worked up when Dalton talked about cornbread? Yeah, you're going to lose it now. Long time ago, in the Appalachian Hills, there was a young man whose daddy nicknamed him Dad. His daddy was so proud of him. And when Dad's mama died, his daddy promised that he would give Dad everything he wanted. You know that's a mistake. Because a child that gets everything that he wants without learning anything that he needs to do grows up kind of different. After a while, Tad's daddy realized that maybe he had done too much for Tad. You see, he got to an age where he would walk into town. He'd spend his time at the bars, drinking and being with wild women, coming home as the sun rose, sleeping all day long, and then doing the same thing the next night. And finally, Tad's daddy said, I want you to sit down. I have to tell you something. I'm not giving you any more money until you learn a few things. You need to learn what folks do to help me run my farm and take care of the land. I can't pass it on to you the way you're acting. You need to learn what I do to make people feel good working for me, to get what they need so that we get what we need. You need to stop drinking all the time. I can tell you're coming. I can smell your breath before you even get to the front door. And those women, well, if your mama was alive, that would kill her. So you get no more money till you learn to do some work. And you get no more from me till you stay away from the bar. Maybe find a good woman. But Dad jumped up from that chair and he said, Daddy, I don't want to hear anything that you have to say. I've been living this life and it's good enough for me. And I'd rather deal with death and the devil than do what you say. Deal with death and the devil? He stormed out the door and headed toward the village. It wasn't that far away, and he knew he could probably make it before the sun went down. But as he was walking down the road, he noticed two figures that seemed to rise up over the horizon and move toward him without walking. And one was dressed in a long black robe. The other was dressed in a fine red suit. And when they got close enough, Tad stopped walking, because the one in the black robe pointed a bony hand at him. And he knew that one was Death. And the one in the fine red suit, well, you know who that was. It was Old Scratch, the devil. And Thad remembered what he had said to his daddy. And he turned around, he was going to head home, but he couldn't seem to move, and his body turned on its own and faced those two. And Death said, "Don't worry. You ain't gonna die yet. But I heard what you said. So did my cousin here. And we gonna play that game called Let's Make a Deal." And Death pulled a bag from his shoulder and shook something out that plopped on the ground. And when it plopped on the ground, the devil stepped back from it. "Cousin, that's nasty." It was a skull with a bit of flesh hanging off of it. And the teeth were slimy. And the mouth was drooling, even though there was no meat on that head. And one eye opened, and whatever color it had been before, it was gray now. And the other eye opened, and whatever color it had been before, it was blood red now. And from the jawline, a body began to grow. Some of it bone, some of it rotting flesh, slimy, oozy, stinking. And that thing uncurled itself from the ground and slithered toward Thad and slid up his back and reached for his shoulders, wrapped its bony, almost fleshless fingers around Thad's shoulders, placed its head next to his, the breath smelling like the bottom of a sump pump. And it wrapped its legs around Thad's waist. And it waited for what was to happen. And Death said, "See, that one on your back, he wasn't any better than you. And I tried to take the flesh, but it didn't all come off yet. And I tried to give the soul to my cousin here, and Dad said he don't want him. So we got to figure out a deal to get rid of this man that's on your back. And when I heard what you said to your daddy, I came up with an idea. This thing means buried. And you're going to carry him on your back all night long until you find a grave that will accept his body so that the devil can take his soul." And then Death stepped back, and the devil stepped back, and they seemed to just disappear into shadow and air. And Thad said, "But wait, what if I can't find a place to bury this thing?" And a voice in the wind said, "Then I'll take you both, put you in my sack, and the devil will decide what to do after that. Well, Thad didn't know what else to do. He couldn't go back to his daddy with that thing on his back, so he started walking, looking for a cemetery, some graveyard where he could bury that man. But he was walking kind of slow, and that thing squeezed its knees into his waist, and it said, "Boy, walk faster." Well, Thad started walking faster. And he finally came to a graveyard. But when he reached out for the gates, they were locked. And he couldn't get in. So he kept on walking. But that thing was getting heavy. And he was getting tired. And he could hardly breathe from the odors coming from that thing. And that thing passed gas. And if you think passing gas is bad, then you're alive. This was 100 times worse. But the thing said to him, "Boy, you're walking too slow. Let's go." So Dad kept on walking, and he came to a cemetery where the gates were wide open. And Dad got ready to walk in there with that thing on his back, and it said, "Stop. Can't go in there. Someone has blessed the land. It's sanctified. I can smell holy water. If you thought my gas smelled bad, think of what this smells like to one like me. Let's go." Thad kept on walking, and he walked all through the night with that thing on his back, and his own back was bending, and his knees were bending, and his heart was aching, and he kept thinking about what he'd said to his daddy. And finally there was a cemetery, and the gate was broken. So Thad opened it. And he took a step onto the ground, and the thing on his back said nothing. So he took another step, and the thing on his back said, "I think this is good. Keep going, boy." So Thad took another step, and the thing on his back said, "This might be the place. Some folks in here were good. Some folks were bad. Some folks were no better than they could be. And some of the graves are tended, and some are overgrown. And I see one that might be just right for me. Keep going, boy." So Thad walked forward, and sure enough, there was a grave that was open with the gravedigger's shovel beside it. And Dad took another step toward it, and he saw there was a coffin in the grave. And the coffin was open because these were the times of grave diggers and body snatchers. And whoever had been in there wasn't there anymore. So that thing on his back said, "This is good. This is good." And started to slide off his shoulders and slither down his back, but it left bits of flesh on his face and down his neck and on his clothes and down his back and down his legs, and it felt like that thing hadn't left at all, but it slid down into the coffin, made sure that it fit, folded those slimy arms, laid back and closed its eyes and said, "Cover me, boy." Well, Thad closed the coffin, and he started picking up the dirt as quickly as he could with that shovel, scooping it up as quickly as he could, dropping it into that hole in the ground. But he saw two figures rise up and move forward. It was death and the devil. Dad started shoveling faster, but there was still a little bit of that hole that he needed to cover up. And just as he was putting the last bit of dirt down into that hole and tamping it down, there were those two standing in front of him, and Dad said, but that's not right. I got him in the ground, and I got him almost covered, and the sun ain't up yet. Death said, "You got the band, boy. We on the devil's time. He don't worry about time zones and daylight savings time. He makes his own time, and he decided it was time to come and get you. So you come on and get in my sack, and he'll take your soul to hell." So Dad started running. He turned and he ran out of that graveyard. He couldn't move, and he was moving as quickly as he could. But to be on the safe side, he started praying. As he ran out of those gates, he started praying, "Lord, Lord, please, if you just let me get out of this, if you give me one more chance, I promise to learn what everybody does on my daddy's land. I promise to go with my daddy and learn everything that he does. I promise to read as much as I can so I know about everything that I need to know. If you just give me one more chance, Lord, I promise that I'll put flowers on my mother's grave every Sunday, and I'll go to church every Sunday. Lord, just give me another chance." And he kept on running, and he kept on praying. And as the sun came up, he was right in front of his house, and he had run out of prayers. He was down to, "Now I lay me down to sleep." But he turned around, and those two figures were fading and disappearing. And Dad took a deep breath. "Thank you, Lord. I promised to do what I said." And then he ran in the house, and he kept his word. He did everything that he had promised to do. And he stayed sober, and he went to church every Sunday, and he put the best flowers he could find on his mother's grave. He learned all that he could, and eventually he found a good woman. And as they got older together, he took his good wife to a cemetery where the gate was open and the ground had been sanctified. And he told her that that's where he wanted to be buried. And he told her how he had become a good man. He told her the same Black Appalachian story that I have just told you. And that's the end of it.
Lyn will be featured in several of our other concerts through the weekend, and if you would like to see all of the concerts on tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, as well as the Sacred Stories on Sunday, you can buy a ticket to the festival. They will be available at the registration desk. There are also materials at the Story Store available from all of the tellers, and from most of the tellers, as well as other resources for storytelling. So if you'd like to learn how to tell stories or take stories home with you from the tellers that you've heard, the Story Store is open. And we also have a silent auction. And to tell us a little bit about that is Frank. Hi, everybody. I want to invite you to come to the silent auction. We have two options for buying things at the silent auction. We're trying to be considerate of people who can't be here all the time. If you're only here for tonight, we'll be happy to sell you something tonight. Our two options are to bid and wait until the auction closes on Saturday evening at 6:30, or we have a buy now price on every item. The buy now price is what we would hope would reasonably be the price we would obtain for that item. No waiting around. It's a buy now, take it with you now price. You may buy either way, and we hope you will find something that you really want to take home with you. So come and see us and have a great festival. So we're going to take a little break. You have a chance to look at those wonderful items, to check out the story store, to join the Texas Storytelling Association, or purchase a ticket for the rest of the weekend, and we'll be back here in 10-15 minutes.